All right, welcome. Hello. Pastor Rubi Pimentel is here with us today. Welcome.
Thank you, Pastor Sergio. How's everything?
It's doing good. How's Houston treating you?
Well, besides the weather, it's treating me nice. And traffic, I gotta admit. I'm still trying to learn how to navigate traffic.
Yeah?
Yes, very crazy. I leave 20 minutes on time, and in the middle it says there's traffic, and it's an hour. I was like, okay. But besides that, everybody's treating me nice.
I take it, so you say that about the weather, so I take it that you miss the cold.
Yes.
How cold did it get over there?
It depends. In the mountains of North Carolina, you get cold weather, but you don't get New York crazy cold weather.
Okay.
So you had your weeks where they were in the teens, but usually it was in the 40s in the morning, and then like in the 50s, 60s in the middle of the day.
It wasn't too cold.
No, only in the morning and at night. And then you had your couple weeks that they were in the teens when you had your snow and things like that. Yeah.
You know, when we immigrated, my family and I, we went to Portland, Oregon.
No.
And then we moved to Vancouver, Washington, which is, on the West Coast, about 2 hours from the coast, I think, which primarily rains quite a bit throughout the year, except summer. But about 2 hour drive, we had on Mount Hood. And I remember, I don't know, I was back. I mean, it was a long time ago, but my little brother and he snowboard, and then I got the skis. So till this day, I love going back home because we could go and get to ski and snowboard and play with the snow and whatnot.
I like snow, but not that way.
Not
I had a bad experience starting my ministry, and ever since I've never done skiing or nothing like that.
What happened?
Let's just say I was skiing down. They never told me how to stop, and there was this kid in the middle of the mountain. His mama was helping him put the ski in with my right leg. I just and then going down the mountain, I was like, sorry. Yeah. So and then coming up the rail to get you up, I went, I think 3 or 4 times, because when it gets to the top, it doesn't really stop. You got to kind of push yourself.
Right.
You go to the right, and I was very afraid to come off that chair. So it took me a couple of trips before I was able, and then I was done. I was like, listen, it's not for me. I'll stick to other sports or enjoyment. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So you weren't, I know that you're Dominican, but you weren't born in the Dominican Republic, correct?
I was.
You were?
Yeah, I was born in Santo Domingo. I was probably, I want to say 6, 7 years old when, I think it was more 7. 91. Yeah.
Okay.
I was 7, about to be 8. Yeah,
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, I got there in New York City, and that's where I lived there for, I want to say 5 years. And then we moved back to, at least me and my siblings, moved back to DR to finish high school because my mom worked for the church in the Dominican Republic. So she had to go back because she only had like a 2-year license.
Gotcha.
If she didn't go back, she will lose, her time, years of experience. So,
but you've lived the majority of your life here.
Yeah, you could say here, between back and forth.
Back and forth.
Yeah, but mainly here. High school was more DR. I came more for like vacation,
Gotcha.
Spring break and your Christmas and things like that. Came to be with my dad. But then once I finished high school at 16, then from there on, it was just here in the States. So like from 12, almost 13 to 16, I was in DR.
Okay.
And just traveling back and forth.
All right. From time to time, I hear the slang.
Yeah.
Dominican slang. I finished my undergrad in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And I lived off campus. Well, on campus, but off campus. It was a house that was owned by the university.
Yeah. Extensions.
With the extensions. So there were about 15 of us in 5 rooms, and like 10 of them were Dominicans.
I lived in the dorm all the time. Yeah. I didn't want to go outside. The dorm was too fun for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned a word. It was like whenever they liked the food, it was like, esto está criminal. This is criminal.
Yeah. Well, the Dominicans has a lot of words to explain a lot of things. It
Yeah.
changes over time. Even now, I hear the younger generation, they speak things I'm like, what? Then I kind of figure out because, we know we use a lot of words to explain something. So you kind of figure out what it is, but it's still crazy for me.
But in terms of ministry, tell me a little bit about that. How did that happen for you? How did the Lord call you to be a pastor? Did you always want to be a pastor? Is that something that it was like, you know what, I definitely want to be a pastor? Tell me about your calling to ministry.
So I grew up in a household of service. My mom obviously worked for the church as an educator. She was a teacher, professor, and, she led different departments at the university. So I grew up in a household of service. My dad was never a pastor, but he was what we call here VLP type of thing, or laico, as they call over there. So my dad helped, build churches and things like that. And my first option was not to be a pastor. I love the preaching aspect of the ministry. So I will listen to the sermon of the pastor, and I will go and practice it in the bathroom, try and repeat what he said. In front of the mirror. Yes.
Well, how old were you there? Were you here?
6, 7.
You were
all the way to like 12, even more.
Pretty young.
Yeah. And I will back the days we had cassette player still.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I will record a sermon. You play and record at the same time to record what he was saying, and then try to go over it myself. I was the DJ of the house, so I was involved in ministry a lot. So I love the preaching aspect. I never said, "Oh, I want to be a pastor." Some teachers in Sabbath school said that I used to say that. I don't remember that. But I did like the preaching aspect. I want to be a doctor. That was my dream, doctor and lawyer. Lawyer because I argue a lot. And my mom was like, you should, you like a lawyer.
Yeah.
But doctor was what my really passion. I don't want to say passion, but it's what I really want to do. Yeah, until there used to be a show called ER. We used to see it in New York City. Yeah, I saw some cases there that I was like, I don't got stomach for that. So I was out the window. But when I was 14 or 15, I was about to finish high school and didn't know what to do. So I felt this big desire to work for the Lord. And what can I work that has to do with preaching? So I look into ministry and...
how old were you?
I was like 14, about to be 15.
Very young.
It was like a year before I finished high school. So I figure, sure, theology it is. But I didn't really have that passion for it. I like the preaching aspect, not everything else. I wasn't there yet. But I asked the Lord it was very silly of me, but I needed a sign from him. So it was a weird sign that I asked the Lord. I asked him twice because the first time I wasn't kind of sure. So I asked him the second time it came to be, and then I went to study theology. But my mind was not into it. I just did it because I felt that the Lord said yes, but I wasn't really into it. Because I went to study theology. I did one summer in the Dominican Republic. Not even one summer. I did 1 month. And then I couldn't get along with the rest of my peers. Because remember, I grew up in New York, New York City.
Mine did, yeah.
And then you have the mindset of the pastoral mindset in DR, which is completely opposite.
Yeah. Two different worlds.
Yeah. Everybody will go into the classroom with suits and suitcase. I'll go in jeans and polo shirts, sandals. It's hot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I never fit in when it came to that. So I told my mom, I know you want me to study here, but this is not for me. So I went to AUC, Atlantic Union College. Unfortunately, it's closed now, but Used to be there in South Lancaster, Massachusetts. So I left before they closed. I left in 2001, December 2001. So I began in Puerto Rico in January 2022. Okay.
So they closed. You transferred.
So after 2 years, I got there in 99. To December 2001, I left because, so those first 2 years was interesting. I was studying theology, but I wasn't really committed. I was doing a lot of things I should have been doing.
One foot in, one foot out type of deal?
Yeah, pretty much in the background. I was the role model for everybody when they saw me, but when I was by myself, not really. I got a lot into debt. By 18, I owe $40,000 in credit card.
Mercy.
I was doing a lot of things, smoking, but just stuff I should have not been doing. And it was precisely, I can't remember if it was, I think it was the winter of 2020 that I was alone in the dorm and no money. I lost my scholarship. I had a 1.20 GPA. So I lost everything.
1.2?
Yeah, 1.2 GPA.
By which year?
By my first semester.
Mercy.
So, it was rough. I didn't want to call home because I don't want to give my dad the satisfaction. Yeah, my dad, we, like any teen, we saw things differently.
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons that motivated me to go as far as possible.
Gotcha.
I didn't want to be home or, dealing with his rules, wanted that freedom, right? Mm-hmm. So, I was there in debt, nothing to eat. I remember in front of the girls' dorm, there used to be this bar. It was not like a bar, but it was type of like a bar. And they used to sell hamburgers, 2 for $5. So I would always wait for a girl from the dorm to go by, because you know how they are. They don't eat a lot, right? So they would throw away one or half of one. And I would dig in the trash to eat because I had nothing to eat. I had no money at all. I had nothing. I don't want to tell my parents anything. And I found this place called Adapa Video. We used to call Adapa Video. It was like probably 2 miles down the girls' dorm. And I went to apply for a job, and she said, I don't got nothing other than 1 hour. It was like, I think 2 hours per week. And I said, listen, I'll take whatever. And I went every day faithfully. I remember winter, I would go in, clean the snow, and rewind the video of the cassette. Because before, they used to charge you $1 if you returned the cassette, not rewind. So my job, I rewind the videos. I put all the boxes in order, title name. And that manager, she was like, I can't pay you. I said, yeah, but I'm not doing nothing at the dorm. I'm by myself.
Yeah.
So I worked there. I had to talk to the dean. I will paint the dorm if you don't charge me for the dorm. I had no money. So.
Hey, but I feel that you found ways to,
Yeah, it's the Dominican in me.
That's fair.
We always got to do something.
Wait, would you ask the girls? Is like, hey, would you buy 2 and then give me 1?
No, I was too embarrassed for that. I would wait for them to throw in the trash. I would get it out of the trash. I had nothing to eat. When you hungry, you hungry. So I would literally wait till nobody looking, and I would look into the trash and try to find a burger.
Wow.
Or whatever's left over. And also behind the girls' dorm, there used to be like a community center from the school to help people in the community. So I would go to, I was kind of embarrassed to tell them, hey, this is to help somebody, but it was me. So I would try to get food and things like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was tough. But, in that moment, without so many debt and drowning, I had no way to keep hiding it no more. So I had to call my mom and say, hey, I want to tell you something. You better sit down. And I told her everything. I'm in debt. I lost my scholarship. I'm doing this. I remember like today, my mom hung up the phone. She said, oh, okay. And hang up the phone.
She was mad.
Yeah. Well, not mad. She just hung up the phone. She said, well, okay. And I was like, hold on. So I gave her a call back. I said, Mom, I said, well, if you're man enough to get in trouble, you got to be man enough to come out.
Mercy.
So figure a way out. And,
And that's a Dominican in her.
Yes, definitely. I was a lot of Dominican in her. So I went to pray. I was crying, I remember, and it was our winter break. It was either winter or spring break. I can't really remember right now. I know it was winter break. Now I remember. So I was crying in my dorm, and I heard this knock as I was on the floor, like somebody knocking the door. So I thought it was so the way the dorm was, it was 2 rooms and the bathroom in the middle. But you have access through both rooms. So I thought it was my the roommate next door invited me, to do things, smoke and things like that. So I went and I went through the bathroom, opened the door. It was empty, the room. It's like, I came back, continued crying, and then I heard a knock again. I was like, man, that's weird. I opened the door to look at the hallway, and it was there was one of the RAs passing by. And I asked him, hey, do you saw somebody knocking at my door? He said, Ruby, you and I are the only one here in the whole dorm. It's winter break. Everybody's home. Christmas. And then I remember that story my mom, used to tell me about Sammy. I was like, okay, I got this. So I went to my knees. I wasn't crying this time. I was like waiting to hear that knock, and I heard that knock again.
Wow.
And I told the Lord, I'm here. I'm listening. And I remember I cried. I looked at the window. So 2 years before that, when my mom dropped me off at the dorm, she left in the window a book, 95 Theses. When we looked up, the book was still there. I've never moved in nothing. And then I started reading that 95 Theses. And the quote that got me the most was the one that says that your good deeds cannot be the cause of your salvation, but the little things you do cannot be the cause of your, you don't save your life. And it gave an explanation about a train. You put a big rock, the train can destroy it. But you can take a pebble or rock and put it on the tracks, and that could derail the whole train. And I felt that the little things I was doing, hiding when nobody saw me, was really my life. So that's why I said, I got to get out of here. I called my parents and say, hey, my dad didn't want to support me going to Puerto Rico, want me to stay there. But I said, if I stay here, I'm going to continue like this. So right there, it was awesome, because right there, that lady that I went to that video store to help, she had got a job at some other place. And she called me with someone, said, hey, you remember Sheila? She's looking for you. And it was like a gas station type of deal, store. So she said, man, I remember how you worked when you had no money. Now you come and do whatever hours you want. I'll pay you whatever. I started working from 4 a.m. to 12 at night.
Wow.
To pay my $30,000 I had credit card. And so my sister took a class to help me. World religions, still, don't forget, because I couldn't go to class. So what I did was I would take my 15-minute break, because I was like 3 miles away from school, go to the class, say present, and then sneak out to the back. And she would take the class for me, and because she had enrolled in that class too. And still today, she's upset because I had an A and she had a B.
Wait, so how does that make sense? Because she took it for you, right?
Yeah. So she will bring the homework, and I'll do it whenever I had a time. And then for the test, So anyways, it was it was long, but the Lord blessed me even in that, because so I had to paint the dorm. So I would come at 12:30 by the time I closed down. And I had to paint the dorm at that time. Because remember, I made a deal with the dean to paint the dorm. And he was very gracious. I would do like half a wall, then try to sleep an hour. Sometimes I overslept. It was funny because, not funny, I think it was the Lord helping me out. So from the main company, they will call the store exactly at 4, which is the time you open the store. Because they want to make sure that the stores are open. The days I overslept, whether I went to bed like at 2 and then I woke up, it was 4:30. And then, it was around 20 minutes walking. So I would just run. And the phone, they always forget to call
right on time.
It was me opening the door at 4:35. That the call, oh, we forgot to call. It's open. Oh, yeah. And I'm barely turning the lights on, and putting coffee and all the things for the... And the people around the town knew about me. because of some police officers. They offer, I told them a little bit what was going on. And they were like, hey, when you come out late, it's so late, just call the police station. We'll come give you a ride. So they used to do that. They used to do that. And people knew. So when the newspaper, they dropped the newspaper early, like 2 a.m. People would grab the newspaper and they would come around the day, hey, I took the newspaper. Here's the money for that newspaper. Like,
wow.
I saw everything God helping me in my mess. So with my second to last paycheck, I paid my last credit card debt, and with my last paycheck, I bought the plane ticket to go to Puerto Rico.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how I got to Puerto Rico. Yeah. It was. I remember when I got to Puerto Rico. I came from AUC to Antillean with 70 credits.
Okay.
They only accepted 5.
No.
Oh, that's a story. They accepted fundamental beliefs, which I had to get a letter from the division, union, and school.
Yeah, when I transferred, they didn't take a few, and I was so
because the class was a woman who gave me that class. I had taken that summer. I did in Dominican.
Wait, a woman?
Yeah. So the well, sorry, I'm gonna throw him on the bus, but the theology director at that time didn't want to accept that it was a woman who gave me the class. So he wanted me to retake that class.
Mercy.
And so I had to get a letter from the union saying that she's a doctor that studies and is a doctor in theology, and she gives class in the university. Because I took it on that one summer that that 1 month that my mom told me to stay. I had taken it. So yeah. And then Spanish 2, they told me 2 months before my graduation that they were not going to accept 1 credit from the Spanish 2, which was 3 credits. Because I took Spanish in DR, and the Spanish in DR is not the same in Puerto Rico. Ooh. That was 2 months before my graduation. I transferred to Austin 2. They never said anything until my graduation. I've been up and down.
Hey, that was a long journey for you.
I did. I got in Puerto Rico in probation because I had 1.20 GPA. Got there in probation. And I had to study a lot to bring my GPA from 1.20. I graduated with 3.12. So I had to study hard and work because I didn't have scholarship. Yeah. So even in Antillean, I had a lot of jobs. I cleaned the main building. I washed dishes. Every time I had an hour, I would go to the back, the cafeteria, wash dishes, the big pots. And I used to have this little radio. I would put it back there and put music blasting.
So when it comes to the calling, you said that you felt the Lord was calling you, hearing you speak about these hardships that you had, that you encounter. I mean, even the school closing. Did at any point did you think about, maybe this is not, maybe this is not what I thought that it was. Maybe God is not calling me to ministry. How did you deal with that? How did you reconciliate the hardships that you were going through with God and your calling to ministry?
So I think that by the time I got myself in trouble, I think I knew I wanted to preach the word of God. I just didn't maybe take it serious enough.
Okay.
And I think the hardship just made me realize that, once you decide to follow Christ, it's going to be hard, but you got to go all in. So I was more a 1 foot in, 1 foot out, because I did want to have my fun, and I also wanted to serve the Lord.
Okay.
But it's kind of hard to do both.
Yeah.
So all that allowed me to see that I needed to give everything. It was like God been calling me, and I've been saying yes, but not completely committed to it. So when I moved to Puerto Rico, it allowed me to be committed. I had to be humble to the lowest point in order for me to see things. Okay. So going through hardship, financial, and even when I got to Puerto Rico, I was so comfortable in a dorm. The room was by myself. I had that privilege to pay a room just for myself. I had one bathroom that I shared with another person, and that was it. When I got to Puerto Rico, I don't know if it was like that when you got there, but when I got there, it was a room, 4 people in the room.
You're talking about the dorms,
The dorms,
not the houses.
Yeah. So when you got there, those dorms were like, it was just brand new. It was not the old rooms. We didn't have AC in the rooms when we got there.
Okay.
We didn't have the new bathrooms that you got. We had a bathroom that, out of the 5 toilets, maybe 2 would work, and nobody could wash clothes and use the toilets in time because it was not pretty what's going to happen afterwards. And it was like 5 showers and only 1 had hot water.
Yeah.
So it was the old, like, for example, the new one you had showers, but you go in, nobody sees you. Over there, no. When I got there, it was those showers where everybody saw from here up. So you like 1, 2, next to the other.
Got you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the toilets were right there, like across you were the toilets. You had like. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, it was not the best dorm when I got there. Mm-hmm. So when I got there the first day, I'm asking somebody, "Hey, where's the boys' dorm?" And they're looking at me like, "You here?" I was like, "This cannot be the boys' dorm." Like, yeah. And I told my mom I wanted to leave. My mom said, "No, you said you wanted to change." So it was a very humble experience for me. I'm used to being privacy. Now I don't have privacy.
Right.
So I had to be humble and grow, And so the aspect was that God showed me I have something for you, but He pretty much had to break me. I grew up very entitled. So I'm the first male in my whole family, from mom and dad's side, the first professional male. No cousin, nobody. So all my aunts used to use me. "Oh, why can't you be like Rubi?" I was the role model when people were seeing me.
Example.
I was the one to talk about the Bible, and then I'm in behind doing a bunch of stuff that nobody knew.
Yeah.
So that grew my ego. Hey, I'm the first. I'm the best. Everybody used me example.
Yeah, you're the educated one.
Until I did all that stuff, and God had to humble me. And then from there, I grew up. So what I learned from that is that God will always, if you allow Him, God will always take you where He wants you to go. Mm-hmm. It might be a long route because of the decisions we make, right? Like the GPS, you make the wrong turn. GPS still will direct you to get there. It might just take longer because you did a bad decision. Right. But you should never give up. And God never sees your mistakes as a reason to pull away your calling. He was just going to use it, And I think it helps better because now you know who you are. And you know that your ministry is not based on what you have because you know the many things you've done. Yeah. It's mainly because God chose you and He has mercy upon you. So I think for me it has helped all my struggles. And the fact that today when I deal with people, and even going on the things I've been being more older, I've learned that when I talk to people, I got to be more conscious of who I am and what I've done. It allows me to keep a more humble mindset when dealing with people, not thinking I'm better. Because, I've been through a lot. So, and plus, I have seen it in my ministry, and I felt confirmed by God when I'm able to share people my testimonies and things I've gone through, and they can relate, and they see more a humanistic side on the ministerial world. Because, like pastors back in the day, they saw them as this saint that never did anything wrong. Yeah. Where you have this new generation of ministers that we are more open and transparent with our, maybe struggles or the things we went into life. Mm-hmm. And people can relate more to that. They feel they can approach somebody that will understand. And I've seen that in my ministry.
Good. I liked what you said. You said the hardships with the calling, right? I believe that every single one of us has a purpose and has a calling. But just because you're living according to your purpose, just because you're living according to your calling, doesn't mean that you won't have hardships. That those hardships are going to shape you into the person that God wants you to become. That in fact, I think that till this day, how many years do you have in ministry?
So in total, it's been around 15 years.
So in these 15 years, has the Lord continued to give you hardships, and has those hardships continued to shape you?
Yeah.
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 And oftentimes, I mean, I thought it was interesting because when I got baptized, for some reason in my mind was like, okay, now, now things are going to be different.
Yeah.
And then when I got to pastoral ministry, I was like, okay, now for sure, right? And then when I got, notified that I was going to be ordained,
You thought things were gonna finally.
I was like, all right. This is it. Like, this is it. Everything is going to change now. But even though those things have been a blessing, they have brought me closer to God, but those hardships have not ended. And I think that's one of the things that I'm picking up from what you're saying in regards to the calling of people that, yes, follow the purpose, yes, follow God's voice, and continue pushing through, because if God has called you to do that, He will open doors and He will make it a possibility for you to continue on that path. In your case, I think that most of us, we do hit some kind of stubbornness.
Yeah.
Like Moses. Moses was in cuarentena, in quarantine for 80 years before he actually started, executing his ministry. And what I see there is just grace and patience from God upon him. And the same patience from God, is also poured on us. Yeah. I had no idea about your testimony, about your story, about the hardships. I mean, to those points of that you have no food, and to God providing for every little single thing. I think that for most of us, we would have quit, and we're like, you know what, I'm out. Why am I going to continue doing this?
Yeah. Listen, my ministry have kept me humble enough. Now, I'm not saying I'm not prideful. I mean, we all got some level of pride. But hardships, man, listen, if I tell you all the things I've been in ministry, we could easily do a 4-hour podcast. But, I've come to learn this. Whatever God permits, it's not that He wants, but He sees the benefit out of it. And He sees an opportunity that if I'm paying attention and I allow Him, that situation will change me completely. It will mold me more to what He wants me. Now, He doesn't want it, but He sees it as an opportunity. So when I read Genesis 1:31, it says, and God saw everything He created, and everything was good. What I get from there is that whatever God sees that's coming to our life, whether it's good or bad, if He thinks it's going to help us, He will permit it. If not, He won't allow it to happen. Whether it's good or bad, it cannot come. So I see all my struggles in ministry that He allowed, whether it was results of my bad decisions, because they're results of our bad decisions.
Yeah.
But if He permits it, He says, okay, if He pays attention to it, He could improve on this. And that's what I've learned in ministry. And I confirm my ministry because I was talking to a pastor friend of mine, Claudio Gomez. He's the secretary at the New York conference, executive secretary. I was talking to him, and, we were talking about struggles, and not just when I was studying, because I know him from AUC. That's where I met him. Not just from AUC, but, even in my pastoral work with my experience that I went through 7 years ago. He says, if you realize all the people that we know, that we studied together, that has gone through similar or the same things you went through, you're the only one in ministry.
Wow. Out of how many?
Well, I want to say the closed group, because we were 116, but the closed group were like around 25.
And you are the only
one in ministry that went to what I went through or similar. The only one and still in ministry. A lot of them are not in ministry, and most of them are not even in church. Yeah.
There is this at the Lexington Pastors Convention this past June. They were doing a special recognition for pastors who have been in ministry for more than 30 years. Quite a few came up, but the statistics now is that the majority, it's a crazy number. It's like 70% 60%, I don't know, it's a very high number of pastors do not make it past 10 years.
Yeah.
Past 10 years. So
that's a reality.
It's a miracle to make it, right? Like you. But then it's another miracle to stay. And I think it's understandable because of the spiritual warfare that we encounter. But hey, we are glad that you are at West. Thank you for sharing your story with us today. This is going to be shared with the church. But I think that on behalf of the church, I wanna welcome you once again at West Houston. I believe that the Lord is going to use you powerfully. I do want to say this, and I know that when we brought you in and you preached and you were interviewing all of that, we extended the invitation because I saw God in it.
All I ask is that you keep praying for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You and Monet. Hey, we got to bring Monet here as well.
Yeah, we should. We should do a couples section soon.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Up next, folks, we're going to have Monet of Wars Course and possibly my wife as well.
Talking about how can they deal with two ministers.
Hey, that's a good one. Friends, thank you for joining. God bless you. And we will stay in touch. Keep subscribed to the YouTube channel and for more videos and more information coming soon.
Amen.